I think the one thing we can all agree on, the devastation of lockdown, and the Prime Minister who has been woefully inept on so many things. I mean, it started off, I think, we were all kind of very much behind the government, really, because this was something we didn't know what it was. We knew there were uncomfortable decisions to be made. We knew it would be tricky. We knew it would be devastating for people in lots of areas, whether that's employment or being away from relatives. It's on that point that I want to dwell just to begin with, because the Prime Minister absolutely needs to act now. He's too busy, it seems, sorting out people that work for him who are fighting and squabbling like ferrets in the proverbial sack at the moment. Forget who your head honcho is, who's going to write your press releases, Mr. Johnson. Sort out whether people can go and see their elderly relatives in care homes over the coming weeks and the Christmas period in particular. We simply cannot be in a situation where people are unable to see their elderly relatives at Christmas. Parents, let's be honest and frank here, who might not survive beyond Christmas, perhaps the last the last festive season they will ever experience, but it won't be very festive. A verbal exchange through a plate glass window or a wave across a car park doesn't cut it. Thousands have been barred from meaningful contact from their families for the past 8 months because, of course, of coronavirus restrictions. The rules have left them unable to even hug or hold hands. Imagine not being able to hold hands with your elderly, frail mum. In some cases, people have had to take part in what they call drive-by visits, which sounds absolutely horrendous, where they don't leave the car and simply wave and try and communicate from behind the wheel. So that's what they've been forced to do. In some cases, people have simply not seen their parents for long periods of time. It cannot go on. Death through loneliness is a real thing. It's happening. There are over 410,000 people in care homes in this country. Many are slowly dying, not because of a lack of medical attention, but because of a lack of love. People who've got to 80, 90, are dying because of a lack of love? Will that be on the death certificate? Official figures suggest there's been thousands of excess dementia-related fatalities since lockdown began, the majority in care homes. The crisis has been exacerbated by a patchwork of different visiting rules around the country. In some cases, of course, as we know, people have even tried to take their own relatives from the care home, only to find the long arm of the law coming their way. Only last week, of course, on this programme, we spoke to the daughter of the woman who, along with her own daughter, took her frail and elderly mother from a care home. She ended up in handcuffs. If you didn't hear it, here's a reminder.
Let's just make this very clear. My nan, my 97-year-old nan here, who we have taken from the care home because we haven't seen her for 9 months, is now being taken back by force to her care home. My mother has been arrested. My mother is in the back of a car here. She is a nurse. She is a fully qualified nurse who is wishing to care for her own mother. And here we have an incredible use of police time to take my 97-year-old grandmother back into a care home where she is deteriorating, where we haven't been able to see her for 9 months.
9 months. They can't see, so there's no hugs, there's no reassurance, not even a gentle holding of hands. Come on, Prime Minister, something has gone horribly wrong, right? When we are stopping people from seeing their elderly relatives, people who are very much at the end of their lives, by definition of being in a care home, they're at the end of their lives, okay? There's no other way to say that. But some will have that last element of life accelerated through a lack of love, through loneliness. I was reading the words of one campaigner, Diane Mayhew, who's the co-founder of the campaign group Rights for Residents. She said, loneliness and isolation will kill people before coronavirus does. We've heard stories of people who just decided to stop eating and drinking. They can't take it anymore. They are choosing to die. Wow. Is the Prime Minister listening to these words? This is your mum. My mum died 5 years ago, and I was there when she died. I have great memories of my mum. She was amazing. The glue, the compass, the constant companion, the person who never judged, the person who'll always beat any woman in the amount of cuddles you get over a lifetime, the love without rules or caveats. I kissed her just after she passed away. I spoke to her while she lay in that hospital bed. I'll never know, by the way, whether she could have heard those words. But as she moved from this world to another, I was there. My sister was there. My mum's sister was there. Some of her grandchildren were there as well. The idea that I wouldn't be able to do that. And even in the weeks leading up to my mum dying, and we knew that she was dying, the thought that she would be in that same situation, but totally on her own, is absolutely unpalatable. And I've relived those visits. I can think of specifically the last 3 times I saw her up until the day she died. And on the day she died, she was pretty much unconscious. And again, I don't know whether she had any idea of what was going on around her. But the days before that, the 2 or 3 days before, she was sat up in bed. I had conversations with her. It was kind of, I wouldn't say business as usual. We knew what was going to happen, but completely conversational. So if you'd fast forward that scenario till now, there would have been no conversations. There would have been no goodbyes. There would have been no holding of hands. There would have been no cleaning of brow or bringing in little presents, telling little nothing. I would absolutely be the person in that position now who would have all of that withdrawn. There'd be none of it. Not a single chance to go in and hold my mum's hand. She would have died on her own. And that's precisely what the Prime Minister is allowing to happen to tens of thousands of families right now who haven't got the opportunity for basic dignity. It is your mum, it's your dad, your nan, your granddad. These aren't your pen friend that you've never met. These are the closest of the closest, the people that have been there forever for you. How do we solve this one? How do we solve the care home visit conundrum? 0344 499 1000. And I want to speak to you if this is your story right now. If this is your story, I was talking to a colleague just a little while ago who said to me that his nan died of dementia a year ago. And he said, in a way, I'm glad she didn't last another year, because he would be in this situation now as well. He wouldn't be able to see his nan. There'd be no visits. There'd be no cuddles, no final words, nothing. I don't know how you control a virus. I don't know about the societal limitations and rules and regulations. I'd like to think I defer to experts, but we know there's a lot of contradictory advice. We know there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. And the one thing I'm absolutely sure about, look, it's not for me to carve out the rules and the regs on this, is there must be a way to be able to cuddle your mother in their last moments of life, their last months of life, sometimes their last weeks or even days of life. There has to be a way around that. 0344 499 1000. We'll open up the lines on that now. And I want to hear the story that you are struggling with at the moment. The battle just to see your mum or dad, nan or granddad, a relative. The battle for a care home visit. Who would have thought it would be illegal for you to go in there? I'm seeing this to the front page of the Daily Mail this morning. Devastating scenes. The clip we played at the beginning, which you might have seen the visual version of that online before, of the daughter talking to her mum through a plate glass window, through double glazing. Her mum doesn't quite know what's happening. Her mum starts crying. To the mum, that's her little girl. To the mum talking through to her, to the woman talking through the window to her mum, she probably still feels like that little girl. It's my mum. I've been there for everything. And in these moments, I can't give her a hug. I mean, that's a rotten system. It borders on the criminal, right? So Boris Johnson, I don't know what your plans are here, but if we can't sort this out, we are in really grave, distressing territory.